there was a long time ago, a beautiful book. This came out like in the 90s, 1990s, and it was called Body for Life. And this personal trainer decided to create a weight loss challenge. And he offered up $1 million to people who could lose weight the fastest or the most weight in a certain period of time. And he gave some guidelines. And one of the guidelines he gave was work out in a fasted state. And so when I read that book, I was always working out in a fed state. One of my go-tos before I discovered fasting is I would always wake up and I would have a cup of coffee and some toast with some nut butter and maybe some banana or honey on top of it, or I'd have a smoothie in the morning. Like I was a full-on breakfast eater, and then I would go and work out. Well, when I started to follow this guy's principles where I worked out in a fasted state, I started to see that I dropped weight quicker. It became such a powerful tool that I work out in a fasted state all the time now, with the exception on the days that I am lifting weights. And I'll talk about that here in a moment. But when you work out in a fasted state, what happens is the workout is causing your muscles to have to grab more glucose and use more glucose. So your system, your liver, your fat cells, your muscles in general, they're releasing sugar into the system so you can perform the workout. So it's a form of burning fat because the body has to let go of the stored sugar. Now, if you are trying to build muscle, you also need amino acids. So this is really difficult because on the days that I'm going to lift weights, I make sure that I have I actually put protein powder and amino acid powder in my coffee in the morning. So I have enough aminos, I have enough protein to be able to do a heavy workout. So working out in the fasted state has some nuance to it, and you just heard it. And should you be doing it in the morning or not, that's really up to you. So that's a personal preference. Now, I want to talk about cortisol surges because an hour to 2 hours after you get up in the morning, you have this incredible peak of cortisol. And whenever cortisol is on the scene, it wants to make you move. So it's great for working out. So personally, I love working out in the morning. Working out in the morning in a fasted state, or if I'm working out in the morning and I have my loaded coffee with the protein, those two work. The third hormone that kicks in the mornings that can make a morning workout great is testosterone. Your testosterone for both men and women peak in the morning. So personally, I'm a huge morning working out, and then you have the nuance on the other side. So there you go on that question. There was a lot to say on that. Okay, number 3, the third question. Why is fasting sometimes hard and why is sometimes easy? Ooh, that's such a good question. So it really comes down to this metabolic switch. So when you're looking at the metabolic switch, remember that if you haven't gone into some of the longer fasts and you've just been staying in your eating window, your switch might be a little rusty. But in the middle of this switch is something I call a gap, or I used to call it the metabolic blockers, the things that make your switch really difficult. And here they are, because it may be that you just haven't been fasting enough, so you go back to fasting and it's hard, or you may have some of these metabolic switch blockers. And here are the blockers. One is you may be deficient in either minerals or amino acids, but specifically minerals. We typically see that sometimes it's hard to get into these fasted states when you're too nutrient deficient. So make sure you're doing enough minerals and you're doing enough amino acids. Okay, 2, your stress loads may be really high. So you might need to make sure that when it's hard, it might be because it's really hard. Your stress might be chronically high. Like I'll use myself as an example. The year that Fast Like a Girl came out, I wrote that book while I was fasting. I was super into all the long fasts. And then I launched this book out into the world, and I go out into all the interviews. I go to all the seminars and the conferences and the speaking gigs, and my cortisol is going up, 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 up. And I start to realize that I am too cortisol saturated and I should not be fasting. And so I shut down. I did small fasts, but not long fasts. So make sure you're not like tripled up on like your cortisol saturating habits. So that's the second one. And then the last one that I will put in here is make sure that you are eating the right foods. The door in to making fasting easy is making sure you have nailed your food habits. And in Eat Like a Girl, I have 5 food principles. I will go through them very briefly here. If you want more detail on these, go to get Eat Like a Girl. It's a cookbook plus a whole front book on principles like this and charts of foods and things that will be really helpful to make fasting a lot easier. So you want to make sure that you're always looking at your blood sugar. So remember, blood sugars matters, calories don't. You want to make sure when you eat carbs, you're eating fiber-rich carbs. So make sure you're eating nature's carbs. So not man-made carbs. These are your fruits, your vegetables, your squashes, your potatoes. Third one is make sure when you're eating, you're feeding your microbiome, not always looking at your taste buds and what you feel like eating, but what your microbes want to eat. So make sure you're eating the polyphenol, probiotic and prebiotic foods. Fourth one is protein is the hero macronutrient. So make sure you're eating enough protein. And the fifth one is fat doesn't make you fat. So let's make sure we're eating enough fat. Follow these 5 foundational principles when you're eating, and fasting will become much easier. So that those metabolic blockers can start to affect how deep you get it, how easy the fasted state is. Oh, I just thought of one other metabolic blocker. So we have the minerals and aminos, we have the stress levels, we have make sure you're following the foundational 5, and the last one is your toxic load. Your toxic load can oftentimes affect how easy fasting is. So make sure you go and you look at all the toxins in your environment. I've done a lot of videos on that. I'll really take you down rabbit holes if I go into toxins right now, but I've done a lot of videos on those. So that's the difference between easy and hard fast. Okay, check this out. I have a free fasting guide for you all. It's free. And it's going to teach you all the basics of fasting. It's going to teach you how to kill hunger when you fast, which is really cool. And it's going to show you how to break your fast, among many other things. All you got to do is click on the link below and enjoy. Okay, 4th question is, why does my brain still crave food even though I'm full? This is after breaking a fast. Yeah, honestly, a lot of times we crave food because we crave a state change. We want to feel different. Food is dopamine. So maybe we're upset about something going on in the day. Sometimes we crave food because we are we have a hole to fill, an emotional hole to fill, or we are bored. Sometimes we crave food because we're bored. We crave food for a lot of different things, and it's not always because we're hungry. So ask yourself, am I looking for an emotional state change? And if the answer is yes, then come up with a new list of them. Like for me, I've been doing this wrecking. I've found put on a weighted vest and go for a walk, and it changes my emotional state immediately. So maybe it's dancing, maybe it's listening to music. There may be some things that you need to work on. So think about that. The other thing that we know is that the microbes in your gut can make you crave things. I have a whole section on this in Eat Like a Girl. So, but certain things like candida. Candida is a fungus in your gut that makes you crave sugar. So you might need some microbiome repair. Again, in Eat Like a Girl, I map out a whole bunch of protocols on how to do that. So food cravings aren't always just because you're like undisciplined. It doesn't mean you're undisciplined. It can mean you want a state change or your microbes are needing something from you. So get to know those microbes and get to create a whole list of things you can do that will help you get dopamine and help with those state changers. Okay, and then the last question, I really love this one. I've done a lot of videos on this, and those of you who listen to my Resetter podcast, I've done a bunch of podcasts on this, and that I did a whole podcast with Marie Forleo on this, on how can I build muscle with a fasting lifestyle. What if you are an athlete? Okay, so one of the biggest joys I've had over the last couple of years is that I am a part of a mentorship group that Jesse Itzler created. Jesse Itzler is I call him a serial entrepreneur. He was founder of Zyco Coconut Water and Marquise Jets. He is part owner of Atlantic Hawks. Like, the guy is awesome. Go follow him on social. It's just incredible human. And so he brought me into this group with all these extreme entrepreneurs that were doing extreme athletic things. And so my job was to help these people figure out a fasting lifestyle that worked for these extreme events. And here's what I'm going to say. This is what we did with them. On the days, if you're an athlete, on your recovery days, or the days you're doing less of a difficult workout, you are going to use a little bit longer fast. So if Monday is an easy workout, you may fast 17 hours, where if Tuesday is a harder workout, then you might only fast 13 hours. So you can vary your fasting length. Second thing is, it's incredibly important for every athlete before a workout, when they are in a fasted state. If you're going to work out in a fasted state and you are an athlete, make sure you have taken enough amino acids. So put amino acids and creatine in some water, in your coffee, and drink it before the workout, so you have the right amount of nutrients to build muscle. And then after your workout, make sure you are eating somewhere between 30 and 100 grams of protein. That's like eating like protein drink, a big steak. If cottage cheese has a lot of protein in it, beans if you're a plant-based. I put so many lists of protein in Eat Like a Girl, list upon list. Go find that book and you can tap into those lists. The protein the amino acid you really want to focus on is leucine. It is in eggs. It is in legumes. For your plant-based people, it is in cottage cheese. It is in poultry. I listed out the leucine content in proteins because leucine acts like an amino acid sensor, and it opens up your sensor receptor sites and makes it so that the receptor sites in your muscles are making sure that they're bringing in all the amino acids and building your muscles strong. Okay, you trying to maximize your weight loss? Apple cider vinegar may be the key. Go check out this video where I show you exactly when, how, and why you want to use it for weight loss. Apple cider vinegar changes your microbiome of your gut. This good bacteria is going to help to bring your blood sugar down and make it so that you can switch over into the fat burning state.